Attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, and welcome to WordStream's June webinar, The Secret Weapon to Unbelievable Landing Pages. My name's Amanda, and I'm here to kick things off before passing it off to our experts. Before we get started, I just wanted to tell you all a little bit about WordStream. You might know us from our free tools or our awesome content, our amazing blog. We're also premier partners of Google, Bing, and Facebook. And we offer an amazing software service. So that helps people like you manage their Google Ads, Bing, and Facebook all from one place, helps increase your ROI, makes online advertising a little bit more digestible, gives you some custom reports, and has a lot of great features for those that are just kind of feeling overwhelmed by the online advertising landscape. We also want to ask you to please connect with us, be our friends, find us on social. We've got a great Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram presence, and we're always looking to build that community, and you can really interact with WordStream customers or other people interested in our content. And last but not least, this webinar is being recorded, so you can be sure to get the recording and the slide deck to your inbox within 48 hours after we end today's sessions. And also, please submit your questions today. We want this to be beneficial to you all. We want this to be exciting and helpful, so let us know if you have any questions, and we'll be sure to get to those answers. So without further ado, I will pass things off to our presenters. We've got an expert who's got some SEO and content background. He knows all the best practices for landing pages. And then we've got someone who's in the weeds for WordStream clients every day, creating these landing pages and running tests. So you've got the best of both worlds here. And I'll pass things off to Gordon first.
Cool. So yeah, my name is Gordon, and myself and Lindsay here are going to be talking to you all today about landing pages. I'm going to be focusing mostly on best practices, like Amanda said, so talking about why landing pages are important and some strategies to keep in mind as you're creating and optimizing them. Ultimately, I'll pass things off to Lindsay, who is our in-house agency team, who is on our agency team here at WordStream. So she has tons of experience working through these optimizations for our clients, and she's going to give you some anecdotal tips that will help you guys get a more concrete sense of how this stuff shakes out in the field. So to start things off, we just want to ask you guys a quick question. How often are you guys testing your landing pages?
All right, we've got a ton of answers rolling in. We'll give you guys some time. Are you testing weekly, monthly, yearly, or did you even think you were supposed to test landing pages? All right, sweet. We've got about half of the audience answering, so I'll close it down for now and share those results with everyone. So it looks like almost half of the people who answered weren't even sure they were supposed to be testing landing pages. Then we've got about, the follow-up is monthly testing, about 34%, with a couple weekly and yearly sprinkled in there as well.
Awesome. So yeah, that's not that surprising, honestly. Like, a lot of people like to focus on account optimizations and sometimes neglect the landing page aspect of it. So we're going to show you guys basically why it's so important to keep landing pages in mind. So to start off, we're just looking at, like, what is a good conversion rate. So optimizing landing pages is all about converting better. Like, you want to get more form fills and more button clicks at higher rates. So what are some benchmarks that we should be looking to beat? So you can see the average conversion rate is 2.35% for advertisers on the search network. The top 25% of advertisers are at a 5.31% conversion rate. And then the very cream of the crop, the top 10%, are all the way up at 11.45%. Now, what does this have to do with landing pages? So it turns out that the top 25% of advertisers are testing at least 4 landing pages. And as I mentioned, that's netting them a 2x higher conversion rate than what we would call the average performers. And then the unicorns who enjoy 5x higher conversion rates, they're testing 10 different landing pages. So you can see there's this direct correlation between the number of pages you're testing and your ability to convert. So let's really hammer this home. HubSpot did a great study where they found that businesses with 31 to 40 landing pages generate 7 times more leads than those with 1 to 5 landing pages. And you can see the graph here. You get this nice little gently sloping curve around 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 20. And then when you hit 31 to 40, the line just explodes and you start to see some really great exponential growth. So for a lot of you advertisers, especially if you're small business owners, but even if you have, a whole marketing team at your disposal, we know it's hard to make 40 landing pages. Like, that's a ridiculous amount of landing pages. And labor aside, you may feel like you don't have enough offers to justify that many landing pages. Like, it's one thing if you're WordStream, right, and you have all these free tools and white papers and webinars that you're promoting to get leads. You also have a team of about 20 people that's constantly making that content and sending those emails and creating the landing pages that match those offers. But, what if your mic's heating and cooling? What if you don't have any content and your only means of generating leads are free quotes and appointments? So we're going to show you a slide here that illustrates the fact that this isn't necessarily true. Like, you don't need more offers to create more landing pages. And you don't need to make like 40 landing pages to see real results. So what we did here is we took a client from the HVAC industry, like Mike's Heating and Cool, and we're showing you just how simply testing 3 more landing pages can have massive implications on your revenue. So on the left here, we have a standard Google Ads campaign. We're looking at $5,000 invested, cost per click of $5.20, a conversion rate of 3.3%, which is an average conversion rate for the HVAC industry. This business closes 20% of its leads generated, and with an average sale price of $4,000, generates a little over $25,000 from this campaign. Then we move over to the right, where we're looking at basically the exact same campaign, but now we're testing 4 landing pages instead of 1. So we're benefiting from that 2x conversion rate. And you can see that despite everything else staying the same, that little tweak also doubles our revenue to up to over 50,000. So a lot of people drive themselves crazy trying to write better ad copy and trying to target better and trying to find more viable keywords. And all that stuff is vital to account management. But if you're doing it at the expense of testing multiple landing pages, you're missing out on a huge revenue lever. Another reason you don't need multiple offers to test multiple landing pages, you have ample opportunity to create landing pages that are catered to your audience, to the audience you're targeting, and you should be taking every opportunity to do that. And I think Lindsay's going to walk through this a little bit more down the line, but just wanted to briefly illustrate what that looks like. So even if you don't have full-on customer personas, there are going to be specific segments of people that buy your products or services, and you know who these people are because they're going to be borne out in your targeting. So for instance, one of these people might be Eric, who you're targeting on the search network with a combination of gender targeting, age targeting, and in-market audience. One might be Suzanne, who you're targeting on Facebook with gender and interest targeting layered on top of remarketing audience. And then one might be John, who looks a lot like Eric, but falls into that top 21 to 30% income bracket. And to really market these different personas effectively, not only should your ad copy be catered to them, but your landing pages should as well. So you want consistent messaging from your ads to your landing pages. Not only is it a great reason to create multiple landing pages in the first place, but if you do it effectively, you're giving yourself a really good chance to convert at a higher clip. So what about mobile? No landing page discussion would be complete without talking about mobile. So when you look at conversion rates across industries, and you've probably noticed this in your own campaigns, mobile typically converts at a lower rate than desktop. Part of that has to do with the nature of browsing by device. Like, you're more likely to be willing to make purchasing decisions on desktop than you are on mobile. And it's more cumbersome to buy something or to enter your information on your phone than it is on your computer. And while there's a lot you can do to remedy that from a web dev standpoint, people don't often invest in truly optimizing their landing pages for mobile. And here are the results of that. So it takes on average 15.3 seconds to fully load a mobile page. Keep in mind that's not time to first paint, that's time to fully load the page. And 15.3 seconds is an extremely long time. And the biggest culprit here is often images. Like, it takes a ton of data from mobile devices to load images that haven't been compressed or aren't in the right format. And every extra second that it takes for that to happen is a second your prospect thinks about jumping ship. 40% of users will leave a landing page if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. So compare that to 15.3 seconds. That's a massive discrepancy between the time people expect a page to load in and the time that it actually takes to load. And Lindsay's going to talk more about bounce rate in a second, but you're looking at basically an enormous amount of people here that either are not making it to the page or they're making it to a single page and then leaving. Finally, this is the impact on purchase behavior of poor mobile usability. So users that have negative experiences on mobile are 62% less likely to purchase. And you might have guessed that if a person doesn't make it to your landing page, they're probably not going to purchase. So this is a pretty substantial hit on your bottom line if you can't provide people with a positive experience on mobile. So I'm going to pass things off to Lindsay here. She's going to talk through some of her experiences working on landing pages in the trenches. And then I'll come back in a bit to take you guys home, and we'll reveal the secret weapon to creating unbelievable landing pages.
Thanks, Gordon. So how do I know if my landing page is bad? This question gets asked quite a lot by a lot of my clients, and it's important to go and diagnose the problem and look at a few key metrics that can help using the data that you have already. If you've already taken into consideration elements like ad copy, audience, other metrics like quality score, it's important to take a look into your Google Analytics. There are 3 big metrics within GA that help give my clients more insight into this. It's bounce rate, the average time spent on page, site speed, and if you take kind of a look right over here on the right, just in case if you're not sure where to find some of that, it's right under behavior, and it's an incredible tool. It really helps. So let's take a look at a case that I had with my client. For privacy reasons, I'm going to call them client X. So this client came to me very confused, very eager to kind of find results. His ad copy was correct. His search terms and keywords themselves were right on point. They saw a high click-through rate, so people were actually going to the site. But after a deeper dive, the average time spent on page, the site speed itself, the bounce rate, it just was all out of whack. So we looked further into what we could do to improve on those. So to resolve this particular case, we decided to test out a new landing page. We looked into what we could control and decided to take action. We focused on the content that was on the particular site to fit better with the messaging itself and have kind of an easier read. We focused on how it appeared on mobile because, again, like mobile, we can't stress this enough, is incredibly important. And then we also updated the image sizes because if you take a look at the 2 images and notice that there's no change, you are correct with the exception of image size. A big culprit of just the page load times can be image size, and images account for most of the downloaded bytes on a page, so ensuring we compress images when possible is essential, and there's tons of sites that do it for free. So when looking to improve mobile experience, there's a few things that help and are good to keep in mind. I use Zappos as a good kind of gauge. So when looking from desktop to mobile, can you access all the same things without needing to scroll? Do you still see the call to actions in the same spots generally? Like, is it right at the forefront? Does the website do a good job itself at transitioning you from desktop to mobile where you don't lose some of the same elements? Like, okay, great, I see part of the navigation in a mobile, but it might be cut off. So it's important to check those things, as well as the use of white space. And I'm sure anybody who has a designer that's in-house will talk a lot about this. It's the idea that there's space between the graphics, columns, images, text, margins, all those elements that allow you to really close in from a desktop to a mobile. So after working on those elements with one of my clients, we saw an improvement in how people were interacting with the website. They were staying longer, the page itself was loading better, people in general were converting more, and we saw the CPA drop from 50 to 14, showing more of that full impact of the importance of testing these landing pages and making optimizations. Now let's talk about content diagnosis. It can be tricky to think about what content is right when looking to diagnose this. My clients and I start with our audience. Is your audience B2B? Is it B2C? A lot of the language between like businesses and customers themselves might be different. How they refer to something might be different. Also, what's important is for them to know, like when they go to the page, can they immediately get an understanding of what you guys do? Do they have to read a lot of information at once? What action should they take when they visit your site? Sometimes tailoring a call to action with something as simple as talk to us, give our software a try, and other softer call to actions feel more personal and conversational, especially compared to something that says join now or submit, which seems more forceful. So now that you've worked to think about some of those questions yourself, let's talk about navigation and how someone may move from one page to the next. It's important to know that some of these pages can feel totally different from one page on your site to another, and you want to have the same tone of voice with both so they're not jarring, especially if you're, say you have an unbounced page and you have a regular page that you're testing. You want to make sure that you're, if you're testing different tones, you want to make sure it's consistent. It can be frustrating as well to see something on the site that has a clickable element, but you go nowhere, so that's also really important. I'm sure you guys have come across a site where you want to click and then it doesn't really work. And as well as the navigation. It's incredibly important that they know, okay, if I click here, I'm going to go here and find this. So there are 5 categories I look at when creating landing pages with my client. The first is obviously speed. We know more than half of our mobile users will leave a page if it loads too slowly. That's people lost before they even really get to your site. We know to ensure content we display that's above the fold is really important. If you have to scroll to see it, they're definitely not going to see it on mobile. And if they see it on desktop, the ability to scroll, if they're not already connected, we'll lose them. Next, we need to ensure that there's a clear value proposition. It's important that they know, okay, like what makes you different, what makes you stand out. And finally, we need to present a prominent call to action on your landing pages. So what action are they taking? Do they know? And can they get to it immediately? So we're going to evaluate some landing pages right now in each of these areas so you guys can see them in action. So let's start with site speed. I want to run a quick poll. Which landing page do you think performs best in terms of site speed? Based off what we talked about, I'm sure there's some other elements that you may or may not be able to figure out, but make sure to take notes on your selection so you can see if your instinct was right.
And just go ahead and put A or B into the chat box here so that we can kind of see what the audience is feeling. Which landing page do we think would be faster, A or B? All right, we've got some answers coming through. Right now, it's looking like B is the winner for a lot of people. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of B's come through.
All right, so let's see which perform better, starting with landing page A. So we tested both of these on mobile because we mentioned how important mobile is. So landing page A saw a really poor load time and lost visitors before they even visited the page. Has a lot of images in general, and the images themselves, file size was too big. Landing page B only took 4 seconds, so not bad at all, and only 10% of the estimated visitors were lost due to load time. So mobile speed goes to landing page B. So if you guys voted for landing page B, you are correct. So this brings us to item number 2 on my list, which is visible content. So on a landing page A, it's definitely pretty, it's aesthetically pleasing, but there's a lot going on. If you look right above the fold, it provides opportunity to cut back on text. And on landing page B, it's a lot cleaner and you have more that you can work with going from a desktop to a mobile. Here is landing page B. Now let's talk value props. One of the problems many advertisers hear is they misunderstand what a value prop should be. Some of the common ones are examples we've seen, like the ones listed above, like ranked number 1. What does that mean? Like, we all don't really know. But there are 3 core elements to what makes a great value prop. So how does your product or service solve problems / improve your customers' work or life? What specific benefits does your product / service bring to your customers? And what should customers buy with your product / service? Why should they buy it over other competitors? So let's take a look back at these pages. So given neither of these pages have had time to get a value prop put on there, they're both incomplete. So neither are effective in that category. Now let's talk call to action. So on landing page A, our call to action is obscured by text, and the action form could be a little bit bigger. And then in landing page B, there's large, clear call to actions that you really can't miss, either on desktop or mobile. You're going to see it. B, I feel like that's not a surprise. So overall, landing page B takes the cake. And then for another good example of what we've seen overall, if you want to take a peek at like HootSuite, I think they do a really good job. You'll notice just a few elements. There's 2 distinct call to actions there, both really highlighted in green. And then there's images that support what they do, so you instantly are attached to, okay, you know what they do, which is really important visually. And then they also have a place where they state it. Very simply put, sometimes it's about keeping it simple. So I'm going to pass it back to Gordon to continue on with telling us more.
Awesome. Thanks, Lindsay. Yeah, so we're putting you guys through a pretty thorough crash course here. You've seen some best practices. You've seen some real world examples of how optimizing these landing pages and creating more landing pages can increase conversion rates, lower cost per actions. Now I'm going to give you a little list of my own. These are 5 quick tips for creating unbelievable landing pages. And we blurred out number 5 for the moment because that is our secret weapon. And we want you guys to stick around for it because it's a huge growth lever and we are super excited to talk about it. So make sure you guys can actually see all these before we go ahead. That would be good. So tip number 1, experiment with different ad formats. So what kind of ad formats? Well, we're looking at ad formats that don't actually require landing pages. And among those, these are our 2 favorites. On the left, we have call-only ads. And if you're a local service business or any kind of business that gets the majority of its leads through phone calls, call-only ads can be an absolute game changer. You look at an industry like legal and wonder, well, how are their conversion rates so high, all the way up around 7%? It's because legal advertisers are extremely good at utilizing these call-only ads. So if you're a prospect in need of an attorney, not only is the urgency already there, but you don't need a landing page to load to make an appointment. And on the social side of things, we have Facebook lead ads, which appear on the right here. And you can see the user flow. The landing page experience takes place inside the app. So the prospect never has to leave the app to submit his information. And we actually ran a little study here at WordStream comparing lead ads to standard ad types. we found that lead ads converted at around a 2% higher clip, albeit at a higher cost per action. We also found that lead ads did not convert as well to sales qualified leads, so quality is a little lower. But again, if your goal is to convert more leads at a higher clip, Facebook lead ads are definitely worth considering. So tip number 2, qualify prospects with video. Video is kind of like mobile or voice. Like if you want to seem like you know something about marketing, you drop statistic about it being the future. And while more than 82, let's talk about why video is so important to make a commitment to your branding page. Because Google came out and said that it's one of the main factor organic pages in the index. And the reason Google came out and said this is that it has found that pages that give off these authoritative signals are the ones that get the most engagement, create the most buzz, and drive the most traffic. So not only will focusing on EAT help you improve your ranking in organic search, but it will equip you with the kind of landing pages that actually generate engagement when paired with your paid ads. So here are a few examples of EAT on landing pages. You can see there's really no one way to do it. You can use customer video or case study. You can use this sort of classic stack testimonial format. You can use social cards. You can display the logos of some of your most impressive customers. All these are great ways to build credibility and to show your prospect that they're not alone in engaging with your brand. And in fact, a lot of reputable people already have. Tip number 4, A/B test your form. So while there are many important parts of the landing page, the real crux of the landing page is the form, because that's where prospects are entering their lead information. And one thing you always want to think about is the number of questions you're asking your prospects. AdEspresso ran a really cool study a year or so back where they looked at how the amount of questions you ask in your form impacts your cost per lead. And their conclusion was that the more questions you have in your lead form, the higher your cost per lead will be. And they also found that when you remove too many questions, you run the risk of attracting low quality leads. And it makes sense, right? Like if the prospect answers more questions about themselves, they're going to be a more qualified lead. So a lot of optimizing lead forms comes down to, 1, asking an amount of questions that will allow you to strike that balance between lead quality and lead quantity. And 2, asking the kinds of questions that are going to allow you to really qualify your prospects as quickly as possible. And you should be A/B testing these forms at all times to see which give you the best results. So we've reached that part of the presentation, the secret weapon to build unbelievable landing pages. Can I get a drum roll? The secret weapon is pop-ups. So you guys probably know pop-ups as the annoying little thing, but they're actually an extremely, if you've been to any WordStream website, you've either close your browser window or to open a new window. And this is why exit intent pop-ups are so important. 75% of people leave your website with the intention to return another day. Their first visit is simply them window shopping. So the majority of people come to your site with the intent to leave before taking meaningful action. So you basically have 2 options. You can let them leave, or you can give them the option to stay. And that's why I put pop-ups, but exit intent pop-ups specifically in the category of must-have when it comes to landing page optimization. You don't have to mess with any of the CRO you've already done on your landing page, and you can still convert more users when they're about to leave. So quick look at a case study just to back this up. When WP Beginner, which is a shoot off of WordPress, started using pop-ups with exit intent a couple years back, they increased their subscribers from 80 a day to 470 a day, which is nearly a 6x increase. So you can really get some insane numbers when you're using these pop-ups. So we've gone through a lot of content today, and it's time to talk about our CRO Toolkit. We know how important landing page optimization is, and hopefully you've seen how important it is with some of the conversion metrics we've offered throughout this presentation. We also know how difficult it can be to go through the process of creating multiple landing pages and A/B testing forms and implementing those exit intent pop-ups. Like these are all great strategies in theory, but they also take legit time and effort and manpower to put into action. So knowing that, we created the CRO Toolkit to help advertisers with every aspect of landing page optimization. It comes free with our flagship software, WordStream Advisor, and it has the functionality to help you implement most, if not all, the strategies that we talked about today, whether that's A/B testing forms, creating pop-ups, creating customized landing pages at scale. It does all the hard work for you, so you can focus on just optimizing your account. And if you want to get more information on the toolkit, you can head to the URL on the screen there, wordstream.com/features/CRO-toolkit. So that's all we have. Thanks for joining, and I will pass it back to Amanda for some Q&A.
Yeah, so thank you so much. That was so much information, tons of optimization techniques and different ways to create great landing pages. But you can do all the work you could possibly imagine on your landing pages, and if you're not sending the right people there, then they still won't convert. So we also have a special offer. You're checking out the CRO Toolkit, you like what you see, take us up on this, chat with a WordStream expert about the traffic that you are sending to your landing pages today. Before you put in all the work to recreate and test, you need to make sure that the right people are seeing your pages. So take us up on that offer. It'll be completely free. Talk with one of our experts. They can do an account analysis of what traffic you're getting and give you some suggestions. Alrighty, so let's jump into some questions while people are letting us know about that. So we had tons of questions come through. And one that was interesting was that this person had been told, no backlinking on landing pages such as header menus to keep up the focus on one thing. But wouldn't that result in a high bounce rate or low time on the site page if they don't have options? And I'm thinking that sounds like a targeting question, but I'll pass it off to the experts to answer.
Yeah, it's sort of fine balance, right? Because you want those links, because if you're trying to rank these landing pages in the index for organic search, you definitely want to try to get as many backlinks as possible to those pages. Like, I think the important thing is decide like what are you using these landing pages for? Is it sort of dual purpose? You want paid and organic, or are you just using these for paid and you do not want to index them? Especially if that's the case, you don't want to allow any of your pages that are just for paid ads in the index, because it might hurt your quality, or it might hurt your overall rankings. So I would say, like, if decide the intent, if it's going to be that dual purpose SEO and PPC, then totally go for the links and try to build that equity to the page. But otherwise, definitely probably stay away from them, because you really want to focus on funneling users to those call to action buttons.
Awesome. And that kind of segues into another question too. The person was thinking in terms of testing. Do you take into consideration organic traffic when you're testing landing pages, or should you really just try to focus a landing page purely for paid purposes?
Yeah, again, that kind of plays into it. Like, I would definitely look at again, decide what your purpose is. Like, if this page has been live on your site for a while and you're just repurposing it as a landing page for paid, I'd look and see, like, how much traffic is this page getting in the past few months. Like, take a look in Search Console and look at what your keyword rankings are. Like, how well is this page ranking for various keywords? Is it getting backlinks? You can use like Ahrefs or any number of SEO tools to figure that stuff out. So again, I'd probably look at it more as like, start with like, be deliberate about how you want to choose your strategy for this page. But again, if this is a page that lives in your site, I'd try to look for those signals first and then go from there.
Awesome. And you also talked about the effectiveness of video, but some people were concerned about load time if you had a video on there. Do you have any suggestions, or is that something you shouldn't be concerned about?
So it can be a concern, but there are definitely ways around it. I would say it depends on how you're viewing it. If it's embedded, if it's at the bottom of the page, it allows for more of that load time, which is important. So essentially the top part of the page would be what's seen first. So if it was towards the bottom, it wouldn't be as bad as the top part would load first. So there's things like that. There's other factors that kind of play in, but it can be a factor if, say, like your whole top of screen is essentially a video that plays. That's definitely going to impact your load time, and it's going to impact mobile and your desktop experience.
Awesome, thank you. Perfect. Another question coming through. Is every landing page about capturing an email? We know we saw some examples there, but this person works for a nonprofit and they always want to get people to donate like right now. So what other kind of CTAs have you seen be successful?
I know that just in general, like depending on what your nonprofit is, it can be things like, oh, give something to this, so you know what I mean? It's less demanding of like donate now in a CTA. Sometimes having those demanding things makes people feel like they're just signing their life away to a gym, which can be really frustrating. Versus like, oh, I'm actually helping out and realizing and making them realize, okay, this money is going to this purpose, and I'm going to say it in a really cute way that's down to earth. So
Awesome. And here's something more specific to testing. So say you're testing 4 different landing pages. What is like the most important element to start testing with? Is it just by changing the color of something, the text? Should you focus on one change when you're testing or try a couple of things?
Yeah, I think, and we talked about this a lot in the presentation, like you should be focusing on site speed, I think, first and foremost, because like we looked at the numbers on mobile, but also on desktop, if people can't get to your landing page, like it's sort of a non-starter before you even get to those other optimizations like button colors and copy. So, I mean, page speed insights is a super useful and easy tool. You can just go in, plug your URL in. It'll give you a score of like, so like if you're comparing 4 different landing pages, you can see is one faster than the other? Like, what are the optimizations I need to do? Do I need to like compress HTML? Do I need to compress the images? So I think page speed is definitely a big one, and then sort of work from there. And like, I'll say it again, the CRO Toolkit is awesome for on-page optimization. So check it out.
All right. And this question was about subdomains. Do those work against you, kind of using like the marketing dot company name ordeal for a landing page, or is that okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a totally reasonable thing to do. The only like issues I've run into with subdomains has come from tracking and analytics, and like Google has remedied a lot of those issues by they make cross-domain tracking sort of like automatic in analytics now, and you set up your website. So I think the biggest issues I've come across with subdomains has been attribution. In terms of landing pages, you know, I don't think that's a big deal at all. Like we use Marketo over here at WordStream, so I think subdomains are a perfectly reasonable strategy.
Great. And I will ask one final question. You talked about quality score briefly and targeting and traffic. How can those things affect your landing page effectiveness kind of beyond just the design of your landing page?
I can jump right in on here. So as far as your quality score, it actually does Google usually checks mobile first. So if your site itself isn't mobile friendly or loads slower on mobile, that's kind of already a ding against you as far as the quality score, and then it can end up contributing to your cost in general. So you want to just make sure that that's okay, and all of those factors kind of work out.
Awesome. So we still have some more like account specific questions coming through or calls back to exactly what we talked about, but I think that's actually a great place to stop for the live presentation and kind of allow us to send off your questions to some specific experts that will know a little bit more about your industry and your account and be able to better answer those questions for you. So again, to give you a couple more minutes, if you'd like to sign up proactively to chat with one of our experts about your account, get some analysis, see the traffic that you're sending there, see how your quality score is right now, because all of that will affect your landing page effectiveness. And then again, check out that CRO Toolkit page on our website. It's a really, really great tool. We're proud of it. And it's a new offer from WordStream. So thanks everyone for joining us today on our landing page webinar, and we hope to see you on our next one. Bye.